Hello, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Fidel. In this video, I would like to go over non-duality, but I'd like to do it in a sketch way, a graphical way. So non-duality means non-separate or not separate. So what exactly are we pointing to here? So not separate from what? Well, not separate from anything, not separate from our universe. So let's take an example here. So let's say that we call this a universe and we call this us. So if we're looking at the universe almost like somehow we're outside of it, we're creating a duality. In other words, here's a universe, U for universe, and here's a person. So here we somehow have a separate person from a separate universe, an observer. And the observer is separate from the observed. Where in reality, the observed universe is not separate because, of course, planet Earth is within the universe. So a person is within, and people are within the substance of the universe. So you could see how before it was separate and now there's not separate because this person is within the entity. If this is Earth and this is the sun, that it's all, and here's space. You see, by naming these things, it creates separations, when in fact, all the people, the earth, the planets, space, the sun, are all in the same reality because, of course, sunlight right now is coming through us. It's coming through the sun. Even the energy we give off comes back out all over the place as well. So what we have is one non-separate woven fabric of reality. And this is why when we say that there is no self, we're not denying that there is not an existence, because there is. It's just that this self that we speak of is not a separate entity from reality. So every time we use these words, self and universe, we're creating a boundary, which is only conceptual between ourselves and our universe, where, of course, we can't ever be a separate entity from our universe. There's just no way to get out of this universe that we're all and everything else is woven into. So, in summary, non-duality is just that. It's the non-separate nature of everything, including ourselves. That there is no separate self, and there never was a separate self. Even this form, when I put a picture of like a body, that's of course how we usually know ourselves. But what that is really a visual thought of who we are, because we can't directly see ourselves. It's no way to do that. Just like the eyeball can't look at itself, because if we have a mirror or any way of detecting it, when it, light comes back to us, and what are we seeing? We're not seeing ourselves. We're seeing a reflection of ourselves, a thought form interpretation of ourselves. So, in summary, once again, there is no separate self. There's no separate universe. There's no separate nothing. And even the boundaries that I draw, that's not true as well, because everything is just within this. So there's no way to even see a boundary, because who's even seeing a boundary? There's no discrete person within the universe. So that's why you, make one more diagram here before I close, you are the universe, because you're not separate from it. But you see, you're not the universe as a person, you're just woven into the universe. So it's not like you are the universe. It's everything is the universe, including this other you person. They're also entwined, and this is why even the difference between one person and another is really conceptual because, it's almost like, of course, another analogy instead of using a universe would be like a tree where one person is, of course, this leaf on a tree and another person's this leaf on the tree. And they might say, hey, I'm separate from you. But of course, if you look, they're separate, but they're not separate at the same time. So the only separation that's being made is a mental separation. And really, that's non-duality, the non-separate or the non-dual aspect of reality. And then also, one further note, when we say that it's always now or there's no other time than now, that makes sense as well, because only if there were, like if there was an outside observer watching a star go across the sky, you can say that it does so over time and it covers an amount of space. But if the observer is also a part of the system, then really what is moving relative to what if there is no discrete entity? Because it's only the mind that's making a formed entity out of something that has no form, because there's no clear boundaries. So to say what's moving relative to what is really a mental projection. And that's why time and space are really conceptual, because in relation to the whole, in other words, if you are the light itself, there is no net relative motion because you are the actual substance itself. So where is the motion? You're not observing it. You are the very substance of it. And you and everything else and everyone else is not a separate entity. So again, non-duality is the non-separate nature of reality. And duality is just the mental separations. It's our own senses, which are limited, that create illusory boundaries that are based upon our limited sensory observations. Because even if I'm going to say that there's a sun there and there's space there, and I'm going to say that there's a boundary between the sun and the space and even the earth, that's not ever true, because of course there's always the sunlight coming through the space, coming through the earth, and coming through us at all times. Even the most distant stars, that light is still coming through us at all times. And at the same time, our light is coming back out through everything else. So it is one woven fabric of a reality, or one consciousness that has developed an awareness. And now we're back into concepts, and that's why in the end what this is cannot be known, because it just is. And if someone comes up with an idea, the mind of someone, I know what this is, well, that is not a separate entity either from the universe. So you see how you can't know the answer, because at all times you're not a separate entity from what is and what will always be in this present moment, this non-dual present moment.